Good evening. Wherever you are in your journey, thank you for being here. Let me begin with a truth we all know, yet often forget. Focus isn't just about blocking distractions. It's about remembering what matters. We live in the age of infinite access, unlimited knowledge, endless scrolling, constant alerts. But in this sea of noise, focus has become rare, and anything rare becomes powerful. Today, I want to share with you 10 things you must do to stay focused. But instead of listing them like a to-do list, I'll walk you through 10 principles that will not only sharpen your focus, but may just help you live a more intentional life. Let's dive in. The soldier doesn't march into battle because he loves bullets. He moves because he believes in something. He believes in a cause greater than himself, something that stirs his spirit even when the odds are stacked against him. That kind of belief, that kind of purpose is the lifeblood of true focus. It fuels resilience, it fuels courage, and it fuels clarity. But here's the irony. Most of us wake up every morning and dive straight into our task lists. Emails, meetings, calls, deadlines, checkboxes. We become robots, marching to the rhythm of a beat we didn't even choose. And we wonder why we feel burnt out, distracted, anxious, or disconnected. It's because we've lost sight of the bigger picture. We're chasing activity, not meaning. We're busy, but we're not aligned. And here's the truth that many miss. If you don't know why you're doing something, it becomes easier to give up. It becomes easier to get distracted, easier to start over again, easier to chase the next shiny thing. Because without a why, everything starts to feel like noise. Let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah is a single mother of two. She worked 2 jobs. She took night classes. She was exhausted, but she never quit. People around her would ask, "How do you keep going?" And Sarah would smile, not with arrogance, but with a quiet, unwavering strength, say, "Every night before I sleep, I remind myself why I'm doing this. My kids are watching. I'm building a better life for them. That is purpose." That is the kind of fuel that doesn't run out when the tank is empty. Because it's not just physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's deeply personal. And when you are connected to something that personal, your focus becomes a mission, not a burden. And here's the secret. Purpose isn't something you find in the pages of a book or in a job title. Purpose is found in people, in values, in impact. It's in the eyes of your children. It's in the dreams of your younger self. It's in the silent promises you make to your future. So many of us confuse goals with purpose. Goals are results. Purpose is reason. Goals are what you're chasing. Purpose is why you started running. And when you know why you started, you can keep going even when you trip, even when you fall, even when it hurt. Because you're not running for applause. You're not running for a trophy. You're running because something deep inside you refuses to settle. The danger is that in today's world, we're taught to equate worth with achievement. We measure our value by how much we do, how fast we respond, how many likes we get. We're praised for hustle, not heart. And in that noise, it becomes easy to forget what we're actually fighting for. You can't stay focused if you don't have direction. And direction comes from belief. Belief comes from purpose. So ask yourself, what would happen if, instead of starting your day with a to-do list, you started it with a to-be list? Who do you want to be today? Who are you becoming through the work you do? How does this effort connect to something that matters? Because when you shift from checking boxes to chasing meaning, your energy changes. You stop working harder and start working truer. You stop trying to impress and start trying to impact. You stop burning out and start burning for something. Sarah's story is powerful, not because of her schedule. It's powerful because of her clarity. She wasn't chasing perfection. She was chasing purpose. She knew her why, and that gave her the strength to keep going, even when no one was clapping, even when no one was watching. And that's what purpose does. It sustains you in silence. It pushes you when motivation is gone. It guides you when the path is blurry. Purpose doesn't just make you focused. It makes you unshakable. Think about the times in your life when you were most focused, most alive, most driven. I guarantee you it wasn't just because of deadlines or pressure. It was because you believed in what you were doing. You saw the meaning behind the motion. Now think about how different life would be if you lived from that place every day, not just reacting to tasks, but responding to a call, not just working to survive, but striving to serve. Imagine if every email, every conversation, every challenge was filtered through the lens of why does this matter? Purpose is the antidote to distraction. When you're deeply connected to your why, you stop chasing everything and start committing to the one thing that really matters. And that clarity is rare. That clarity is powerful. We need more people who don't just want to succeed but who want to serve. We need more leaders who aren't just chasing titles, but who are driven by truth. We need more of us to wake up not asking what do I need to do today, but instead asking who needs me at my best today. Because that's where focus comes from, not from better productivity tools, not from tighter schedules, but from deeper connection. You don't need more time, you need more meaning. You don't need a better planner, you need a better reason. So before you open your calendar, before you touch your phone, before you dive into your inbox tomorrow morning, pause, breathe, ask yourself, what am I really fighting for? Because when your work becomes your witness, when your energy is aligned with your essence, when your hustle is rooted in heart, that's when you become unstoppable. Not perfect, not always productive, but undeniably on purpose. And that, more than anything, is what the world needs right now. We often imagine that distractions are like invaders, external forces barging into our day, stealing our focus, derailing our momentum. We blame the buzzing phone, the stream of notifications, the overflowing inbox, the noisy coworker 2 desks down. But the truth is, the greatest distractions are rarely the ones that interrupt us. The greatest distractions are the ones we invite in, the ones we welcome, the ones we disguise as urgent, or necessary, or just this once. We don't lose focus because the world is loud. We lose focus because we haven't built the courage to say no. There is a myth many of us live by, that saying yes to more makes us better, that piling on more tasks, more responsibilities, more meetings makes us more valuable, that multitasking is a badge of honor. But in reality, every time we say yes to something unimportant, we are saying no to something that actually matters. We don't even realize it's happening. One yes at a time we give away our clarity. One yes at a time we dilute our power, until suddenly we're drowning in obligations that don't light us up, don't move us forward, and don't connect to the purpose that once made us come alive. Focusing isn't about doing more, it's about choosing less, but choosing right, because if everything is important, nothing is. And if we don't decide what matters, the world will decide for us. And the world's standards are often noisy, shallow, and misaligned with who we truly are. The people we admire most, the ones who create change, build movements, shape culture, they didn't get there by doing everything. They got there by doing the essential things exceptionally well, not because they had more time, but because they made fewer choices. They didn't just protect their calendar, they protected their clarity. Focus doesn't come from discipline alone, it comes from intention, and intention only thrives in an environment of simplicity. The kind of simplicity that comes not from lack, but from courage. The courage to subtract, the courage to cancel, the courage to disappoint others in order to stay true to yourself. That's not selfish. That's alignment. That's integrity. Every day we are presented with 1,000 decisions. What to check, what to do, who to call, what to post, where to go, how to respond. Most of them feel small, but they add up. The sum of those micro decisions becomes the shape of our day, and the shape of our day becomes the shape of our life. If we don't pause to evaluate what we're allowing in, we risk living a life full of motion but void of meaning. There's a reason that the most revolutionary ideas often come not from addition, but from subtraction. Apple's breakthrough products didn't succeed because they added more features. They succeeded because they stripped everything away, until only the essential remained. That's what made them beautiful. That's what made them powerful. The brilliance was in what was left out, not what was crammed in. So what would it look like if we lived that way? What would it look like if we evaluated every new commitment, every request, every meeting, every app, every habit, through one simple lens? Does this move me closer to what really matters? If the answer is no, then what are we doing? We forget that elimination is a form of progress. Cutting out the unnecessary is not quitting, it's choosing, and choice is the highest form of human freedom. When we make space, we make progress. When we clear the clutter, we make room for creativity, connection, and clarity. But when we fill every margin, we lose the magic. The magic isn't in how much we can do, it's in how powerfully we can choose. The magic is in protecting what matters, and letting go of everything that doesn't. We've become a society addicted to more information, more tasks, more input, more hustle, but more isn't the answer. In fact, more is often the enemy of focus, because more spreads us thin, more scatters our attention, more turns passion into exhaustion. And the tragic part is, we often don't realize how much we're giving up, until it's too late, until we wake up burned out, disconnected, or numb. But we can change that. It begins with one question, asked every day, with honesty and courage. What can I subtract today, to make room for what matters? Maybe it's canceling that meeting that no longer serves a purpose. Maybe it's turning off notifications that only invite noise. Maybe it's deleting that app that steals your evenings. Maybe it's saying no to that project that doesn't align with your vision. Maybe it's blocking 1 hour, just one sacred hour, to think, to breathe, to create, to simply be. That one choice might feel small, but it's everything, because that's the hour you reclaim your life. That's the moment you choose intentionality over obligation. That's the space where your best ideas are born. That's the foundation where focus can finally flourish. not in complexity but in clarity. We're not here to fill time, we're here to fill purpose. And purpose can't survive in a schedule that never stops. Purpose needs margin, purpose needs air, purpose needs space to breathe. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, distracted, or scattered, don't look outside, look inside. Don't ask what else you need to do. Ask what you can let go of. Ask what's stealing your presence. Ask what's costing you your peace. Because true focus isn't a grind. It's a gift. And it's a gift that begins not when you add one more thing, but when you remove what no longer belongs. Simplicity isn't a lack of ambition. It's the height of clarity. And in a world that constantly demands more, the most courageous thing you can do is choose less, but choose it with everything you've got. We often begin with big dreams. A new year, a new quarter, a Monday morning, we declare bold resolutions. This time, I'll be more productive. This time I'll focus. This time I'll finally change. And for a moment, we believe it. We buy planners, we make lists, we download apps, we ride the wave of inspiration like a rocket. But then life happens. The inspiration fades. The routine kicks back in. And before long, we're back where we started, frustrated, distracted, stuck in old patterns, wondering why our motivation disappeared. But the truth is, it's not our motivation that fails us. It's the system we rely on. We place our hopes and resolutions in these singular, sweeping decisions that depend on willpower to survive. But willpower is like a battery. It drains quickly, especially in the face of stress, fatigue, and temptation. And when it's gone, we revert. Not because we don't care, but because we didn't build something that could outlast emotion. What we need isn't more motivation. What we need is ritual. Rituals are not goals. They are not intentions. They are not fleeting bursts of inspiration. Rituals are the things we do without needing to feel inspired. They are ingrained, automatic, unquestioned. We don't wake up and ask, should I brush my teeth today? We just do it because it's become part of who we are. Not a choice, but a rhythm. And rhythm is powerful. Rhythm carries us when willpower wears thin. Think about the people who consistently perform at the highest level. The athletes, the artists, the thinkers. They don't wake up each day and hope for motivation to strike. They build lives around ritual. They craft routines that protect their energy, sharpen their focus, and guide their attention. They don't trust feelings, they trust systems. Kobe Bryant didn't rise to greatness by accident. His 4 a.m. wake-up calls weren't for show, they were sacred. He trained before sunrise, not because it was glamorous, but because it gave him an edge. He didn't decide each morning whether or not to train. He had already decided long ago, and that decision lived in his ritual. That ritual gave him the discipline to outlast fatigue, the clarity to block out distractions, the consistency to build greatness one rep at a time. That's what rituals give us. Not just structure, but freedom. Freedom from decision fatigue. Freedom from emotional volatility. Freedom from the constant noise asking for our attention. Because when something is a ritual, we no longer have to negotiate with ourselves. We don't weigh the pros and cons. We don't delay or debate. We simply act. If you want to focus, create rituals that protect your attention. Small intentional daily actions that center your mind and quiet the noise. Maybe it's journaling in the morning to align your thoughts. Maybe it's a 10-minute walk after lunch to reset. Maybe it's turning your phone on airplane mode for the first hour of the day. Whatever it is, do it with intention. Do it every day. And most importantly, do it even when you don't feel like it. Because that's the secret of rituals. They don't require us to feel ready. They teach us that readiness isn't a prerequisite for action. In fact, action is what creates readiness. Each time we show up, especially when we don't feel like it, we build identity. And identity is where true change begins. When you see yourself as someone who focuses, someone who creates, someone who follows through, you begin to behave that way. Not because you're forcing it, but because it's who you've become. But here's where many of us get stuck. We think rituals have to be big, complex, impressive. We think they need to be hours long, life-altering events. They don't. In fact, the most powerful rituals are often the simplest. A single glass of water in the morning, a 5-minute stretch, 1 page of reflection, 1 distraction-free work block. Tiny acts, repeated consistently, compound into transformation. And the more we repeat them, the more natural they become. What starts as a discipline becomes a desire. What begins as effort becomes ease. When we rely on resolutions, we place the burden on the future version of ourselves. We expect that person to suddenly have more energy, more motivation, more clarity. But the future is just a mirror of today. unless we change the pattern. And the only way to change the pattern is to change what we do now, not tomorrow, not when it feels right, now. So, stop chasing massive change. Start designing meaningful rituals. Set your environment to make them easy. Eliminate friction. Build a rhythm that supports your deepest goals. And protect it like it matters. Because it does. We don't become focused by accident. We become focused through repeated, deliberate choices. Choices made easier by rituals that remove decision and replace it with flow. Rituals that remind us this is who I am. This is what I do. This is what matters. And when the world gets loud, and it will, your rituals will be your anchor. When you're tired, distracted, uncertain, your rituals will guide you home. They will hold your focus. They will guard your time. They will remind you that greatness isn't built in the grand gestures. It's built in the quiet, consistent ones. So today, instead of promising yourself a new resolution, make yourself a new rhythm. Not for show, not for the world, but for the version of you who's ready to live with clarity, intention, and purpose. Because when your focus is protected by ritual, you don't need to chase success. You become the kind of person who attracts it. We live in a world obsessed with security. We lock our doors, protect our bank accounts with complex passwords, and monitor our online privacy with growing vigilance. But in all our effort to protect what we own, we often forget to protect what we are. And what we are at our core is energy. The kind of energy that fuels our focus, our joy, our compassion, our purpose. The kind of energy that, once depleted, can't simply be reset with a new password or a two-step verification code. It has to be nurtured, guarded, and replenished like your very life depends on it. Because it does. We don't lose our fire all at once. We give it away in quiet exchanges. A yes when we meant no. A meeting that should have been an email. An argument we didn't need to have. A scroll that turned into an hour of our life. We get caught in this trap where we confuse productivity with purpose and movement with progress. We celebrate being busy, wear exhaustion like a badge of honor, and chase burnout like it's a milestone of success. But here's the truth. Burnout is not the price of ambition. It's the cost of misaligned energy. There's a reason you feel depleted after spending time with some people, and energized after being with others. It's not accidental. Some things fill us, some things drain us. And if we don't learn the difference, we end up living lives that look successful on the outside, but feel empty on the inside. We get good at surviving, but we forget how to thrive. We keep running, not because we know where we're going, but because we're afraid of what will catch us if we stay. Your energy is the most valuable currency you have. You can't print more of it. You can't borrow it. And once it's gone for the day, it's gone. Every moment you spend, every decision you make, every person you engage with, every project you commit to, it all comes with an energy price tag. And the question isn't just, do I have the time? It's, do I have the energy? You see, time management is a myth if it's not rooted in energy management. You can have the most color-coded calendar in the world and still collapse by 3 p.m. if you've spent the day saying yes to things that pull you away from your purpose. Focus isn't just about discipline. It's about alignment. You cannot focus when you're running on fumes. You cannot be present when you're constantly pouring from an empty cup. And this isn't just poetic inspiration. It's biology. Research from the University of Illinois shows that after just 50 minutes of focused mental effort, our cognitive capacity begins to dip. Our attention wanders. Our clarity blurs. And what we often do in response is push harder because we've been taught that grit is the answer to everything. But grit without grace is a recipe for burnout. The human brain isn't a machine. It's an organism. It needs rest, rhythm, and renewal. It needs breaks, micro breaks, movement, hydration, deep breaths, eye contact with the people we love, a walk without a destination, a moment without a screen. Not because we're lazy, but because we're human. And here's the thing. Saying no is not a betrayal of others. It's a commitment to yourself. It's not selfish. It's sacred. We need to normalize the unapologetic no, because every yes that's not aligned with your energy, your values, your purpose, it's a quiet surrender, a slow erosion of the self. And over time, it adds until one day you wake up and realize that you've built a life filled with things you never actually chose, fueled by energy you no longer have. You don't owe anyone your exhaustion. You don't need to explain why you're protecting your peace. Not everyone will understand it, and that's okay. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be true to yourself. And the people who matter, the ones who see your worth, even when you're not producing or performing. They will celebrate your boundaries. They will respect your no. They will hold space for your rest. Because they're not here for what you do. They're here for who you are. So fuel up. Eat like your brain matters. Sleep like your dreams depend on it. Move your body not to shrink it, but to celebrate it. Guard your calendar like it holds your destiny. Because it does. Ask yourself, before every commitment, every request, does this serve my energy or steal it? Does this align with who I am becoming? Because when you protect your energy, you don't just protect your productivity, you protect your creativity, your compassion, your joy, your resilience, your very sense of self. And in that space, when you are fully fueled, deeply rested, aligned with your purpose, you become unstoppable. You start choosing projects that make your heart beat faster. You start having conversations that matter. You start showing up not as a shadow of yourself, but as your whole, vibrant, powerful self. That's the kind of energy the world needs. Not more hustle, not more grind, not more noise, but more people who are alive, awake, and aligned. People who know that protecting their energy isn't a luxury, it's a leadership skill, a revolutionary act, a decision to live fully, love boldly, and lead with integrity. So guard your energy, like your life depends on it, because it does. Surround yourself with intentional people. You've heard the quote, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Let's take it deeper. You're the reflection of the energy you tolerate. If your circle scrolls more than they speak, gossips more than they grow, complains more than they create, your focus will silently suffer. In 2009, a Harvard study on social networks found that emotions, productivity, and even obesity were contagious. That means who you hang with doesn't just influence your mood. It literally rewires your brain's tendencies. So find people who remind you who you want to become. And if you can't find them, become them first. And they'll find you. We live in an age of pressure. The pressure to be everything, do everything, achieve everything, often all at once. We've been sold the idea that success comes to those who hustle endlessly, who juggle 10 things at once, who never stop climbing the mountain. But what they don't tell you is that eventually, even the strongest lose their grip when they never pause to breathe. It's not laziness that steals our focus. It's the weight of overwhelm. It's decision fatigue, that quiet thief that doesn't shout, but slowly drains us until we're left staring at a to-do list we can't even begin to tackle. Every option looks equally urgent. Every path demands attention. Every responsibility screams for immediate action. And so we do the only thing our brains can manage. When choices are too many and clarity too little, we freeze. The human mind is remarkable, but it wasn't designed to multitask the way we try to make it. It's not meant to carry the entire future at once. Yet here we are trying to answer emails, manage emotions, solve long-term problems, raise children, hit deadlines, and stay inspired all before lunch. And then we wonder why we feel like we're failing, why we feel stuck, why we feel lost. It's not because we don't care. It's because we care too much, and we're paralyzed by the sheer volume of everything coming at us. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if the mountain was never ours to conquer in a day? What if the real strength lies not in climbing it all at once, but in taking the next right step? Even if it's small, even if it's messy, even if we don't know where it leads. A friend of mine once shared his journey through addiction with me. He said there were days when the idea of staying clean for one more day felt too heavy, too far, too impossible. Time stretches in strange ways when you're hurting. So his sponsor told him something that changed the way he lived. Forget the day, just make the next right choice. Not the perfect choice, not the forever choice, just the next right one. And then when the next moment comes, do it again. That idea, so simple, so human, became his path to healing. He didn't need to win the whole war. He just needed to win the next moment. That truth is universal. Whether you're writing a book that feels too big to finish, starting a business that feels like it's going nowhere, or raising a family in a world that feels more complicated every day, it's not about doing it all. It's not even about doing most of it. It's about doing the right something, the next step that nudges you forward, that honors your values, that aligns with who you are trying to become. Because the goal isn't perfection, it's direction. And here's what makes that mindset so powerful. It frees. It releases you from the false belief that you need to have all the answers right now, that you need to see the whole path, that you need to be in control of outcomes that no one can truly predict. You don't. You just need to be in control of this moment, this decision, this conversation, this heartbeat. When we bring our attention down from the vastness of everything and anchor it in the clarity of the next right thing, we take back our agency. We step out of the noise and into intention, and we realize that life isn't about getting it all done. It's about doing the things that matter, when they matter, with presence and purpose. It's tempting to chase the illusion of mastery, to wait until we're certain, to delay action until we feel ready. But growth doesn't live in readiness. It lives in action, in showing up when we're uncertain, in doing what we can with what we have, from where we are. The next right thing might be a phone call, or an apology, or a glass of water, or 5 minutes of quiet, or saying no, or saying yes. It might be opening the laptop and writing the first line, not the whole chapter. It might be asking for help, or choosing rest. And sometimes the next right thing is simply choosing to believe you're still worthy, even when the world feels too big. We think big moments define us, but more often it's the small choices made consistently that shape our future. Those quiet, brave decisions, taken step by step, build momentum, and momentum turns into movement, and movement becomes progress. Not because you planned out every detail, but because you kept showing up for the next moment, with your heart, with your courage, with your willingness to try. And yes, there will be days when you feel like you're walking in circles, days when nothing makes sense, days when you'll wonder if any of it matters. But on those days, remember this: clarity is often found in the doing, not before it. Action breeds clarity, and the only way to fail is to stop moving altogether. So stop staring at the mountain. You were never meant to carry it. You were meant to climb it, slowly, deliberately, step by step. And every step you take, no matter how small, is a declaration that you are not giving up, that you are still choosing to show up, that you still believe in the possibility of something better. You don't have to do everything today. You don't even have to do everything this week. You just have to do what's next. That's enough. That's always been enough. And when tomorrow comes, you'll do it again, not because you have it all figured out, but because you trust that forward is forward, even if it's only by inch, because you believe that doing the next right thing is the most courageous thing you can do in a world that keeps asking you to do everything. And that belief, that choice, is where change begins. Let's bring it home. Focus isn't a skill. It's a decision. 1,000 decisions. It's choosing purpose over busy work, simplicity over chaos, energy over exhaustion, discipline over distraction, connection over consumption, the next step over perfection. So when the world gets loud, go quiet. When your screen pulls you in, look out the window and when you forget why you started, go back to that reason and start again, because you don't need to do more. You need to do what matters on purpose.